Hey there, true believers. It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another The Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode review and recap. Uh, yeah, it's a pretty good episode. I gotta be honest, I'm actually especially loving Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Mostly, I won't lie, mostly because it feels very inclusive and it almost feels like this show was supposed to come out during Black History Month because there's a lot of black representation in here, which is really good. So before I go deep into this, I want to tell you to please give me a like, a comment, and a subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. Eh, at least sometime before the end of April. We're almost at the end of this month already, right? So, of course, today's episode is called Power Broker. And if you're a hardcore Marvel fan, that probably sounds familiar for you. Don't worry. Not only do I have some recap notes over here so I can go through it, I got some other notes right here so I don't miss things. And I'm definitely, when I get to the parts, I'm going to be telling you what's going on instead of giving you the review and then at the end speak about everything. I'm going to speak about things as I go through it. So, of course, they do a last time. I even put in my notes, I gotta be honest, low key, I kind of want Carly to die. I don't. Carly Morgenthau, I don't like this character. I don't know if it's because the character is the same age as the actress, being 22. It's really hard for me to see this person as a terrorist or a revolutionary leader. But sure. Plus, they're British. So, her being British, it just seems off. If there was a different nationality where it's prone to those type of things, but again, all this was going on during the blip, so they formed more or less during the blip. So who knows? But I digress. After a little recap, it was a commercial for the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council. Their whole motto is to reset, restore, and rebuild. Getting people, like I said last episode, back into society after they had been blipped out of existence. And we are shown John Walker and his crew showing up in Berlin. They, they didn't even give them a second to breathe. They just broke into this place. And of course, if you recognize this place, it was last episode. This is where the Flagsmashers were held up at. Of course, Battlestar even mentions that they give people supplies and foods. Of course, they're going to get loyalty from these people, right? And it's funny because the Battlestar black guy, he speaks German. John Walker does not. Uh, he's speaking. He's basically being. He's not even translating word for word. He's just doing the more informal way. Telling the guy, you heard what he said. Give me an answer. Okay. He relays it back to him, and he spits on Walker's face. He picks him up and says, "Do you know who I am?" Guy says in plain English, "Yes, and I don't care." Not a lot of respect for this cat. So outside, as Battlestar's saying the whole why the Flagsmashers are getting loyalty and why she's getting help, uh, they're arresting the people that had helped her from last episode. We see them being carried out, and he says they're gonna have to bet on someone with a better hand because obviously they're already behind. They're way behind. And I said, "Uh-oh," because it looks like Walker, like the perspective around him, it looks as if he's either under a lot of duress, a lot of stress, or he's having kind of a manic attack, which is pretty interesting. You can already tell from episode 2 that the stress of being Captain America was already getting to him. And it's kind of interesting to see this descent from him. While it's kind of a quick descent, but John Walker was never a nice person in the comics, so I'm not really surprised. Pardon me. So, I'm sorry, they were in Munich, Germany. In Berlin now, it's Sam and Bucky. Bucky wants to go along to talk to Zemo. They're in the jail. And Zemo, when Bucky arrives, Zemo starts saying the words from the book. And he's like, "I'm not that person." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I just want to see your reaction to when I'm reading this." And, you know, he basically says, at least when you were in prison, you weren't conscious for most of it. I'm just conscious in here. And he's apologizing for Bucky, saying that, he never meant to use him or for some of these things to happen, but he was just an ends to a means. You have to remember, Baron Zemo is also a terrorist. He was one of our first big bads to not really die, not counting Loki, but one of our first big bads to not die, because essentially he has he got King T'Chaka killed, so Wakanda hates him. He's led to many people dying. He's led to essentially the blip happening. If you think about it, indirectly, he got the Avengers to split up. Well, not indirectly, but he got the Avengers to split up. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. If Steve and Tony were on the same page in Infinity War, they probably could have beat Thanos within an hour and 30 minutes of that movie. Just my personal opinion. Zemo, also he tells Zemo that someone recreated the Super Soldier Serum, and Zemo saying, "Oh, okay. I'm assuming that you think it's Hydra, and you don't know where to begin. That's why you're coming to me." And essentially, and this is really funny. After this, we get a kind of a juxtaposition almost. Bucky leads Sam into this strange garage where he's saying, "Let me just hypothetically run something down to you," because he wants to break Zemo out, and Sam's like, "No," and he's saying he may be crazy, but he also has a code. And he already recaps everything, the T'Chaka thing, the Wakanda thing. And he's saying, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "It's being rhetorical. Of course not. Of course, people are going to want to kill this guy." And then he walks Sam through a hypothetical where he asks Zemo what was he reading. Zemo tells him. He gets a note. Sam walks out and flicks a note to a guy who's playing chess. White gentleman playing with a black gentleman. And the note in German says he's going to kill you at the end of the day. They start fighting. They cause a riot, which gets the guards coming. Zemo takes one of the guards, knocks him out, puts on his clothes, and very meticulously finds his way out of prison. And Sam, throughout this whole thing, saying, "I don't like how casual you're being. Where the hell are we?" And Sam sees Zemo walk through the door. And as Zemo's about to say, "If I may," they both say no. And he apologizes. This is one of the most. It's a funny moment. There's a lot of subtly funny moments throughout this episode because of the interaction the characters are having. He says he stuck his neck out for excuse me, for Bucky, and he's trying to say, Zemo's trying to say I'm invaluable, and they both say shut up. And it's crazy because Zemo is the reason. It's also not indirectly, the reason why Sam and Cap were on the run for 2 years, because he stuck their neck out for Bucky, saying, we know Bucky wouldn't do this, and he impersonated Bucky, killing a guy to do all this stuff. So Bucky's asking Sam to trust him. Sam goes ahead and trusts him. Zemo has cars. I'm talking some of the most fancy old model cars that you've ever seen. Really good cars. And he was saying, while I was helping Hydra, I got a lot of this stuff. He sees his old Baron Zemo mask, very reminiscent of the comics, very good look. Takes that with a couple other things, and Sam's like, "How did you have all this stuff?" And during getting ahead of myself, during the conversation, he says, "We're gonna start with the middle people and work our way up to the top." And he's saying, "How you have all this stuff?" He's saying, "Well, before your friends destroyed my country, I was a baron," and he's still rich. He has a nice little conversation with the old butler of his. They're happy to see one another, and so he's not a Nazi in this. This version of Baron Zemo was not a Nazi. If you remember in the comics, he was heavy into Hydra, one of Captain America's greatest foes, right there with Red Skull. So yeah, he's not a Nazi. He's from Sokovia. Technically, Sokovia doesn't exist anymore. Haha. But due to still cunning, due to still very much evil, he cost a lot of people their lives. So do not forget, despite how charming he is, he's still a villain. And so, the butler saying, "I'm sorry, the fridge is still warm, didn't get it fixed." And he says if it doesn't pass the smell test, give it to them, which is, again, something funny. He has Bucky's personal list, which Bucky says he'll kill him if he, gets him, because he said this one name, Nakajima, seems interesting. He says, "This is a list of people who you've wronged." And Sam recognized, he said, "Hey, that's the book that Steve used to carry around." He said, "I told him listen to Trouble Man, and did you listen to Trouble Man? Did you listen to Trouble Man?" He's like, "Yeah, I like music from the 40s. And he's like, everybody likes trouble, man. And we get one of the things I love about Falcon and Winter Soldier is the further look into these characters, because Baron Zemo understands trouble, man. He says it explains the life experiences of the African American male. He says it's a classic, and and Sam goes, "Well, he's out of line. Zemo's right." And Zemo calls it a masterpiece, which it is. And while Bucky says, "I like it," I'm just saying I prefer this. Very funny, uh, very funny interaction. But we do get a serious interaction from Zemo as he's drinking the champagne on this personal plane, saying that there are danger of having men like Steve. And he says, "I know you don't want to hear this coming from me, but you put men like that on a pedestal, you tend to forget their flaws. Do we want men like Red Skull running around?" Which Red Skull was the exact antithesis to Cap. Technically, Cap was the antithesis to him because Johann Schmidt had gotten the Super Soldier Serum beforehand and just brought out his evil. And he name dropped Madripoor. They are on their way to Madripoor. Why is Madripoor important? Madripoor is essentially telling you the X-Men are in this universe. Madripoor is been the centerpiece of several different X-Men comic story arcs, especially with Wolverine having dealings with the low community, the Morlocks. It's basically it's a place that's between Singapore and Indonesia. They speak Filipino, English, and French. In fact, when they arrive there, there's a Filipino rap song playing. Uh, the the people here, it was a pirate place that they never got rid of the lawlessness. So there is really no laws even in upper society, which looks grand. Tons of neon, like there's neon buildings in lower part of this country. Imagine L.A., New York, and Chicago smushed together, but all the good building parts, and imagine all the dredges from those cities at the lower part. While there's still neon lights and everything, it's a lot of lawlessness down there. He's saying to Bucky, "You're gonna have to be Winter Soldier, pretend it's your brain controlled under me," and Sam has got to pretend to be Smiling Tiger. In this universe, well, in the comics universe, Smiling Tiger was a half Cambodian animal guy who got his name because he always smiled before the kill. He didn't have a nose, and while he was trained in hand-to-hand combat, when he got older and got his animal abilities, he had long claws on his hands and on his feet. And this one, he's an African rake who looks a lot like Sam. Go figure. But we'll get back to that later. In Latvia, at a GRC refugee camp, Carly's there. Her mother is dying, passing away from tuberculosis. Excuse me. And her mother passes away. She's crying. It didn't garner any sympathy for me because I don't like Carly as a character. She seems very one note, and it's hard for me to. I get there's this character that saw how the world fell to hell during the 5 years that people were, blipped out of existence. But I get the take they're trying to go for this young person that has grown up with all this turmoil. Now they want things to go back before when people were actually caring. I'm gonna be completely honest. If she was doing this type of stuff back then, Ronan probably would have killed her. Sorry, but not sorry. Anyway, we go back to Sam. Sam saying, dressed like Smiley. He says he looks like a pimp. And Zemo said, only Americans would assume that a fashion-forward black man is a pimp. Wow. You're making me like Zemo, who was a jackass in Civil War. This character, mind you, whose ultimate goal after splitting up the Avengers and killing all the super soldiers, the sleeper cell super soldiers, was going to kill himself until T'Challa said, "Nah, we're going to put you in prison. We're going to make you live with what you've done." Amazing. So they're going to Lowtown. A car pulls up for them. People are already awaiting them, apparently. They get in the car, they get escorted. Is, like I told you guys before, is multicultural out the ass. While traditionally it's Filipino, English, and French, I did see some Japanese signs in there. I saw some Chinese signs. I thought it was Spanish rap, but it's Filipino rap. Sorry. Neon sign symbols, and the thing on the back says Power Broker is watching. Let's break down Power Broker real quick. There are two different characters named Power Broker. In the 80s, there was this man called Curtis Jackson. Essentially, he is a businessman. There's a thing even called Power Broker Incorporated. I mentioned Dr. Carl Malus last review. Carl Malus was actually in Jessica Jones, the Netflix show. Dude is an evil villain. He experiments on tons of people. He's not in this show, but Power Broker has dealings with him. If Carl Malus is still alive, he still might be, given that Power Broker is still around. Power Broker has ties with Punisher, who actually killed him and pretended to be him to kill other villains, but that's at the end of his life. He actually has dealings with U.S. Agent and Battlestar that would help him Battlestar get his powers. This guy helps people get superpowers, and it is amazing. It is amazing that this. I have a feeling that you're going to see way more people get abilities, not just super soldier abilities, but other abilities, and he sells tech. Even Power Broker 2, after the first one died, this guy wears a power suit all the time. Which actually, I have a picture for you of both of these characters. Power Broker 1 looked like this because he eventually enhanced himself, made his body huge and grotesque. He couldn't move it, so good doctor, had to build a thing for him to work in it. He eventually made it work, but the second, uh, the second Power Broker is a gentleman that looks like this. He's in a suit, but he wears a battle suit underneath it. So far, people have seen him be able to fly, shoot beams. That's the extent that we know of, but he has dealings. Now, this character has dealings with Ant-Man, Cassandra Lang. He's made an app to get henchmen, or made an app for people to assassinate people. He even was going to get Ant-Man, Scott Lang, assassinated by Whirlwind, but canceled it when the villain didn't want to pay for it, didn't want to go $1 million in the hole to pay for this app. These two characters are big business villainy personified, which is pretty interesting. If they don't kill Power Broker outright in this series, if he is the character that's going to be shown out throughout the MCU shows or even the MCU movies, that would be very interesting to have this underlying evil that's, we don't even know how long Power Broker has been a thing, since Madripoor has been around, right? Pardon me. And this is leading me to believe perfectly that mutants have probably always been around. That just like Isaiah Bradley was, a Captain America, that a Black Captain America that no one spoke on, the mutants have probably always been around, and no one has ever really given a second thought. She has probably been deleting files and everything. Xavier's probably doing his part of mind wiping people. And Emma Frost is probably out there with Sebastian Shaw doing the same thing. Any people with mind wiping powers have probably been doing this thing, right? And that's Power Broker. Now, Zemo mentions that they're going to see a person named Selby. Selby is another character, except in this show, they race bent, gender bent, and nationality bent, because Selby was a black male of nondescript nationality. This one is a white female of British nationality. He had dealings with the X-Men. He can understand binary codes. Not a major character, pretty much. He's a minor character. So is Smiling Tiger. Power Broker's somewhere in the middle, definitely in the middle. So you can't necessarily get rid of him quickly. And I'll tell you what I mean by that later. So while Sam's pretending to be Smiling Tiger at the bar, this guy says, "Your usual." He says, "Yeah." Guy takes a snake, cuts him open. Sam has to drink snake bile, and he goes for it. Someone comes behind Zemo, says, Power Broker says, "You're not welcome." He says, "Well, I'm not here to see him. I'm here to see Selby." He's never met Power Broker. He's only talked to him through other means, but he's never met him. The guy is about to attack Zemo. Zemo speaks in, I guess it's German, but he speaks in a different language, saying to when a soldier attack, because obviously there's some people there that have to speak German, right? There are people on their phones recording as Bucky is whooping these guys' asses. He is throwing guys around, beating these guys up, stopping them from stabbing, shooting, you know, taking their guns. And as he's choking a guy out on the table, people start cocking their guns. One guy has a golden gun, and everybody's just ready. And Zemo has to tell Sam to stay in character because if he doesn't, they're all gonna die. And gets the Winter Soldier off for him. Sam sneaks in to whisper, "Yo, you cool?" Bucky gives him a look, and someone tells them that Sylvie will see them. And pretty interesting that Zemo does say it's pretty, Sam was pretty quick, not Sam, Bucky was pretty quick to turn on that switch again, which he's 104. He'd been training as a killer assassin for years and years and years. That's a muscle memory that doesn't go away no matter how dead you are for 5 years. So they walk past money. They're escorted, of course. Sylvie says, people don't make demands in her bar. Asking how Zemo escaped, he said, people like people like us escape. She even flirts with Sam. Says, "Oh man, it's my attack. You're taller than I thought." And it's like, wow, they could have gone somewhere with that, but they didn't. He's asking about the serum for Winter, Super Soldier Serum. He says, "I'll give you a Winter Soldier. You tell me how more of these things have been made." She tells him, talk to Wilfred Nagel. Sorry, Nagel. And he was told that Sam didn't work out, but he was told to work on Sam, but things didn't work out. And before I tell you more about what happens in the scene, who is Dr. Wilfred Nagel? Glad you asked. Remember last episode when we found Isaiah Bradley and his son, Eli Bradley, the future Patriot? In the same comic, Red, White, and Black, Wilfred Nagel was there, and he was experimenting on the black men to get the serum to work. Only saw them as test subjects. He died in the same series, but he is apparently alive for now in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just wow. I'm loving how much Marvel is just taking characters. I don't care how big or small. They're taking actual characters and they're actually using them. They're not forgetting them. They're not throwing them to the wayside. They're not turning other characters into these characters. They're using them. And I deeply appreciate it. I wish DC did that more because DC has so many good characters they could do this with. But I digress. Sam's phone goes off and it's Sarah. So he's playing it off, talking about, "Oh, I'll kill those bankers and I'm going to do this." And her children are playing in the background. She says, "I got to go, Sam." And everybody's like, "Sam." And before anything can happen, Sylvie's shot. Don't know who shot her, but Sylvie's shot. Sylvie's dead. Everyone is shooting. Things are going off. They take out the bad guys. They have guns. And Zemo says, "Put those weapons away. Trust me so we can get the hell out of here." Still don't know who shot Sylvie first, but they walk out, and through everybody's phones in the lower country, in the low end of Madripoor, are saying Sylvie's dead. They would get 1,000. I think the symbol is like Bitcoin, so 1,000 Bitcoin. Who knows? But they're going to get paid for killing and getting her killers, which was kind of feels like they were set up right. Pretty quickly, found out that she died. So now they're just walking briskly. They're trying to get the hell out of there. People start shooting at them. Zemo breaks off to the right. Sam and Bucky, they're hauling ass. There's someone above them kills 2 people before they get shot, and Zemo kills the 3rd person. He's like, "It looks like you got a guardian angel," and the guardian angel was Sharon Carter. Sharon Carter is kind of surprised to see him. She sees Zemo. She wants to kill him because he cost her everything. She's bitter as hell. Bucky asks her for her help. She says, "I got a place in Hightown." So they're going to High Life Society. Apparently in Madripoor, she is an art dealer, dealing with people who replace the real artworks with fake artworks. People can't tell. Sam was even looking up how much some of this stuff costs. I was like, wow, she's made a living there. While, Sam and Bucky have been pardoned, she hasn't been pardoned. In Civil War, she went against the CIA, and she can't go back. And Madripoor does not extradite people. That is very in line with the comics. They don't extradite anybody. You cannot go there looking to grab someone. which is why the X-Men tend to go there themselves and do things. So, she tells Sam that the whole hero thing's a joke. We get a great interaction with these four characters. Zemo saying, "Oh, he knows." Sam says the hero thing may be hypocrisy, but he believes in it. And he's saying, "I'll get your name cleared." And he's saying, "Fine," because she's not having any of it with the promises. He's like, "Fine, I'll make you a deal. Help us. I'll get your name cleared. I will do that for you." And they still be rating. People still be rating Sam about the whole giving the shield away. She's like, "You didn't see that coming," and Bucky said, "Yeah, well, he knows it now." So she's having a party. She's going to find out what she can find about Nagel, whatever. we get she gets the whereabouts of him. They go to a shipping container the next morning, and they're snaking their way through. Sharon's telling them, "You guys got to make sure you're fast because people are still looking for you because they think that they killed Sylvie." In this container, they find a secret entrance. Music's playing. They meet the good doctor. So Sharon Zone comes and basically tells them, "Yeah, you guys need to hurry up." And Sharon takes out 3 guys by herself. I had to correct myself. She takes out 4 or 5 guys. I'm talking choking, shooting, stabs a guy with his own knife. Badass. So we get the lowdown on Dr. Nagel. He was brought in by Hydra to recreate the Super Soldier Serum, which is what they did for him in the comics. They finally found a test subject, Isaiah Bradley, whose blood was sustainable and he was stable, and he was reverse engineering it. The CIA had brought him in, after the stuff in Siberia had fallen. So he was working for CIA, which was probably laced with Hydra agents. Who knows? But, he had stable blood with Isaiah. He didn't even know it was Isaiah. He just called him a test subject. And when asked, well, what happened from there, he's like, "Well, I died for 5 years. I turned to dust." When he came back, the program was abandoned. He came to manager report, and of course, Power Broker was happy to fund his want to finish his work. He made 20 vials. Now, if you remember counting, if you pay attention to this episode, they say that there's 8 super soldiers out there. It means there's 12 vials of this stuff around somewhere. But what happened was Carly Morgenthau, she stole all the serums after her and her people got them. It's easy to believe that the person saying that they were going to kill her was not Nagel. It was Power Broker. Power Broker is going to try to kill Carly. He's going to find a way to get those soldier serums. Obviously. So she's messing with the wrong person. I would say Power Broker is probably on Kingpin level in the MCU. Just like King, if you've seen Daredevil, you know how strong Kingpin is. Read comics, you know how strong Kingpin is. Not talking about physically, which he is. I'm talking about with power and knowing people and getting stuff done. So Carly better watch out, which I don't really care about, but Carly better watch out. He wasn't. So she wanted him to help with her mother who had tuberculosis within those GRC camps, but he didn't care. He said, "Not my pig, not my farm." He doesn't care what happened. Meanwhile, Zemo finds a gun. Sharon is still kicking people's ass. She's killing. She's just killing these guys. There are no problem for her. And that's one of the things I like about the Captain America series and the Winter Soldier series. You do have these super soldier guys, but then you have like normal people who have trained very well that can take out people by themselves. Even Sam, who uses the wing suit, he still has to have trained to be able to take people out. And I love it. Love it. So Bucky asks if there's any serum left in the lab. Guy says no. He had to, had a gun to his head, had to convince him. Sharon comes down, tells him they got to go. Zemo kills the guy. A rocket launcher hits the container. Hell is breaking loose. Zemo breaks off again. They all find their way out, and now they're in a firefight. And if you've seen this trailer, you get the funny interaction between Sam and Bucky, where Sam is like, I shoot this way. You follow I came out first. You always follow the guy that's shooting. It's in every action movie. And Sharon is like, this is really not the time for this. Zemo has his mask on. He shoots an explosive vein. He's jumping down, killing people. He doesn't have powers, and he is doing work. They're all taking cover. Sam picks up a pipe, beats the hell out of one guy, and stabs a woman, javelin throw right through her chest. So equal opportunity ass whoopings. I love them. Zemo finds a very fashionable 1970s car. Hot wires it steals the car. They're gonna they're gonna find their way to the next place. I can't remember the next place they're trying to go to, but I guess the next place is to find Carly's mother, since that's the last lead they have. Sam wants Sharon to come. She said, "You just work on getting me that partner because she can't leave." Sharon talks to a liaison who picks her up and takes her away because remember, this is a pirate country. She can kill people, and I guess nothing will happen unless you kill one of the power brokers people. So, excuse me. And we get the funny callback to the Civil War movie where Bucky asks Sam to move up his seat, and he says no. He says, "You're not gonna move up your seat, are you?" Because Sam is in the back, Bucky's in the front. He says, "You're not gonna move up your seat, are you?" He's like, "No." I love callbacks like that. If you know, you know. If you don't, it's still funny. So now we're in Lithuania, in Vilnius, Lithuania, at the GRC supply depot. Carly's scouting around with the Smashers, and dude says you can take off time if you want, and we get a big old expedition dump. Again, she's still too young for me to take her serious, but he's asking if you always thought you'd be doing this. They went to Madripoor during the blip. They're saying that, she's saying maybe I would have been a teacher. I would love to have been a teacher. It'll be a teacher, whatever. He's saying he would have been a cop or something. They're just trying to get the world back to the way it was. Blah, blah, blah. Madripoor opened up their eyes and they got the serum. It was fire in her blood. It's so much exposition. Episode 3 is the perfect place to dump it because you're not going to give a damn in episodes 4, 5, and 6. You want to see the action, right? So it had to be done. So, and the guy's on to his Asian and British guy. So, they got one more fight because Power Broker's going to be coming for them. And apparently they found out that Nagel was killed. So, word travels fast in the underworld. And he's going to be coming to them, whether to employ them or to take that serum from their blood. You never know. Power Broker is not to be messed with, especially if they're going to go with the 2000 version and not the 1988 version. Anyway, John Walker's at a prison where Zemo broke out, and he's saying that those two visit before this happened, and the Germans are like, "Wait, do you think they did it?" He ignores them like an asshole and just walks to Battlestar, and they're saying they're gonna keep this to themselves. They're gonna let Sam and Bucky keep getting ahead to figure out things, and then they're gonna swoop in and take the credit because he says it doesn't matter how the job gets done, they just care that the job is done, right? He's gotten super dark super quick, but John Walker's caving to the pressure. John Walker's always been an asshole. I've loved U.S. Agent's outfit, but he's always been a jackass. So he's not going to die at the end of this. I predict he's going to get his hand cut off just like he got his hand cut off in the comics. He's going to have a little tweezer hand. But he becomes a Thunderbolt, so I know you guys don't care, right? Anyway, Sam asks Torres to find the girl's mom. He's upset about what Sharon has been through. Very, very Captain America-like. I appreciate... Actually, I took care of everybody wants to talk about. Very, very... I appreciate how much they're showing, Sam still believes in truth, justice, American way, but he knows the dirty side of it. He knows, he's a black man, so he knows the injustices that are right there with what can be. He feels bad for people who he's had a connection with. He feels bad for people he doesn't have a connection with. He is becoming his own Captain America. So he even says that all of this over a big hunk of metal. He's talking about the shield. How many people are going to get steamrolled for it? And Bucky's saying it depends on who you ask. That metal saved a lot of people's lives. And he says he gave it away was a mistake. Maybe he should have destroyed it. And Sam says, well, before you think about destroying it, I'm going to take it back myself. So we have two different guys who deserve to be Cap. Sam, who was very much a modern ideal of America, the black man who understands what it's like to be put down and believes in the better of the world, but will not ignore the injustice of it, will call it out. And you have Bucky, who really, he wants to do right by this role that his friend started, that his friend stood up for. Love these two. They're playing with Zemo. They find out that the lady is dead and she's in the city by the Baltic Sea. And Zemo says he's taking an interest in Carly Morgenthau. Zemo doesn't like superpowered people. He's gonna try to kill her. He doesn't like anybody making no serum. He doesn't like any of that. He believes that the beginning of all this crap was super soldier people like the Winter Soldier, which I would have figured he would have blamed Tony Stark with the Ultron thing and would have tried to kill all robot people, but I digress. You can tell he's gonna kill Carly. I'm okay with that. Flagsmashers steal vaccines and everything else, and Carly, calls them filthy. She says, they're fighting for their lives, and the Asian guy says, "You want to get in that car?" He's like, "No, we'll get in this one." While the other guys drive off, they get ready to drive off, but explosion goes off. The car explodes, the building explodes. He says, "There's still people in there," and she's like, "People, they only respond to things like this. You got to do whatever it takes." And just so this is where the 22-year-old thought process goes. I don't know if 22. I was 22 at one point in time. I don't know if I was that dumb, but this character is so. I don't want to call her one note, but it's kind of like I don't care. She's not complex at all. I get what you were going for. A young person growing up during a blip era who had to deal with things breaking down and now has to deal with this new world, or the world trying to go back to how it was. But she's no better. She's letting people die. And maybe that's a side effect of the serum. Gotta remember the serum brings out what's inside of you, but yeah, for her to just be like, "We're doing the right thing. We're gonna let those people die because that's the only thing they care about." You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. So Zemo talking about Sokovia erased off the map. He has a place where they are. Obviously, he's a baron. He has money. Uh, he asked if either Sam or Bucky visited the memorial. He said, "Of course you didn't." And they're gonna go inside, and Bucky says, "Give me a second, I'm gonna take a walk." They just go ahead. He picks up a small little bead that he hears beeping. He goes around the corner, picks up another small bead that he hears beeping. And he's talking, saying, "You can come out now. You know, I know we're being followed. You drop something." And a Dora Milaje appears and says, "We are here. I am here for Zemo." That is where the episode cuts off. I know this. I know I've gone 37 minutes. I still have some things to go through, but man, I really hope Bucky doesn't fight Adora Milaje because the people in Wakanda love him, and I hope he does not get on their bad side. He's trying to finish a thing, so maybe they'll understand. Maybe this is where we'll get the drop that T'Challa has passed. Maybe we'll get a hint of that. Um, I don't know how far in advance this show was filmed. I know WandaVision was pushed back, which pushed back everything else. So who knows? Who knows if they did reshoots? Who knows if they did redubbing? But we'll find out. But yeah, what I liked, I love Zemo. I already told. Well, let me reverse this. I love Sharon. I really hope Sharon Carter comes back. I hope Sam's not going to forget about her, and I hope he finds a way to help her out. I love Zemo. Zemo is so charismatic. Like you're supposed to hate him in Civil War, which I did. I hated him for what he did, and almost to the point where you forgot that he actually did all these things until you get to the end. But he's so charismatic in here. He is willing to work for what he believes is justice, which is why Baron Zemo created the Thunderbolts. This feels like this is setting up Thunderbolts and Secret Avengers, world hopping underneath the nose of the government and the world society at large to take care of these issues. Because not Sam, but Captain America's whole thing in his movies was globe trotting. Tony's too to an extent, but you can really feel going the boots on the ground, different country feel in the Captain America movies. This is the exact same thing, and I really appreciate seeing Zemo. I do not like one of the things I don't like is Carly. Zemo feels like a more fleshed out villain, and I can't use the excuse that we saw him in Civil War because we only got to see one side of him, the conniving side. But in here, he is a complex guy. He wants to let people live and let live, but he believes letting figures of authority and charisma stand up and be put on pedestal will make society crumble. He doesn't want any Red Skulls running around. That's his whole deal. Probably going to try to kill Bucky at the end. I can appreciate him as a villain, and I hope they do not kill him off. Please do not kill off Baron Zemo. That would be a huge mistake. You can kill off Carly. You can kill off John Walker if you want to. If you want to change course correct, and not get off that arm and kill him, because he's one of the things I don't like. It's just like, oh, okay, so you're just a douchebag. You're a guy. You're the typical asshole cop, right? You're having a bad day at work. You don't care. Cool. I expect that the real villain's going to show up, but appear. I think Power Broker is the real villain behind all this. They're going to have to deal with Carly and the Flagsmashers, of course, in a big battle royale. They're going to have to deal with John Walker, and I hope we get Bucky kicking his butt, or we can get Sam kicking his butt. One of them is going to get the shield by kicking this dude's butt. I hope it's not black guy versus black guy, because it's kind of cliche, but we'll see what happens. What else do I have down here? We're setting up things. I don't believe Kevin Feige for a minute when he says that these movies have no bearing on these shows have no bearing on the movies, and you don't have to. You should watch these, because this is basically building the world that these movies are in. We're building to either Thunderbolts or Secret Avengers. Mark my words, and we're building to a new Captain America. You want to know how Bucky earned the Stars and Stripes? You want to know how Sam earned the Stars and Stripes? This is what you watch. Very, very relevant. You know, these things aren't isolated. These things, it's very different from WandaVision, because WandaVision was like an isolated event where we're learning more about Vision and Wanda, because we didn't get a lot of time with them. We got to see them, but we didn't get tons of time with them. We got time with Sam and Bucky, but we're fleshing out more of what makes them tick. We're fleshing out more of the characters that are around them, like Sharon Carter and Zemo. Anthony Mackie even said in a movie, the best characters are the side characters, are the B and C protagonists, because the A protagonist, you're following him through the journey, but the B and C people, they do things, and we're seeing the B and C people from Cap's movies do things, and I appreciate it. So all in all, I got it. For me, last episode was a 5. This is a 5 too. Love it, love it to death. Sorry that I went a little bit long, but the show's amazing. I really, really like this show. So, and I hope you like it too. Please tell me what you think of it down in the comment section below. Please remember to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little notification bell, get notified of more videos like this. I try to get them out every Friday, but it's been a hectic week for me, so I know you guys understand. Hit the share button to share this video. You can play this like a podcast. Play it in the background. Don't worry about it. You ain't got to see my face, right? Again, thank you for showing up. Please be good, be blessed. Wash your hands, wear a mask. Black Lives Matter. Be good to yourself, be good to others. Stay safe out there, everybody. And I will definitely see you next time.